Hello and good morning. Sorry, I am running 1 minute behind. I thought it was going to be longer, but it's Monday. It's a Monday. I am Alternate Juror. Thank you for joining me this morning. We are going to finish up the Tennessee versus Lewis Dillon Clary. We started this trial on Friday. Um, it is in Judge Wolf's courtroom down in Tennessee. It is a trial that is a really good example of a he said, she said situation. Um, it is a woman accusing her husband's best friend since fourth grade of coming into their house and her waking up to him on top of her. She said to the motion of, I'm not going to use words she used, I'll just say relations. He says it was consensual. Um, her testimony was kind of all over the place. Her husband's testimony was kind of all over the place. Something happened years ago, and these two friends, the husband and the defendant, stopped talking. And the wife, which is accusing the defendant of the action, sorry, had to choose my words very carefully. She says life just got in the way, and as it does, and people stop talking. Her husband gets on the stand and he's like, I don't remember what happened. Well, during the police talking to the defendant, he says the falling out was because the defendant's wife and the woman that is accusing the defendant, his best friend's wife, were in Nashville before she married his best friend. The woman accusing the defendant of this action had relations with somebody else. So basically, it sounded like she had a one night stand. And I know it's probably really confusing, and I apologize. So the defendant's wife, something happens that makes her upset. She eventually tells the woman who's accusing the defendant that she had a one night stand in Nashville. That was the falling out. So then that brings in a whole different perspective of this thing. Is this woman, she's pissed? Is she mad? Is she out for revenge? Because I'm sorry, women can be really very vengeful and spiteful, and we can plan things for a long time. I'm not saying that's what happened here. I just don't know. His story hasn't changed. Um, she talked about her story was just had a lot of weird things in it. And um, one of them was leaving a feminine hygiene product in herself from noon the prior day. And I'm sorry, ladies, we know not to do that. We don't do that. And if you do that, please don't do that. It's very bad for your health. And she claims that she was also at the end of a miscarriage. And I don't know exactly what that means. She didn't go to the doctor. And if they, I believe, not a doctor, not a lawyer, I don't even play him on TV. If a woman is suffering from that, they don't want her to have anything in there, not even feminine hygiene product. My gosh, this is horrible to try to explain. So that was hard for me to wrap my head around. Um, so I was left with more questions than answers after what we watched on Friday. So today we're going to watch um, the final day, which is the second day, and see what happens here. Uh, as I stated on Friday, if this defendant is found not guilty, I will leave this up for a little while and then I will take it down. And that is just due to out of respect for the people that are involved and for him. If he's found not guilty of this, then he doesn't need it out there. I don't know how else to explain it. Not everybody can afford to have somebody go through and clean the internet up for them after they are accused of something horrible and found not guilty. I'll leave it at that. So I have the judge coming in. Love Judge Wolf. I think he's, so far, I don't know that I've seen him do too many things that I kind of questioned or anything like that. He seems to be okay. He seems to be a good fella. Make sure that I have my volume up because I was doing lots of stuff on my computer this weekend, which probably is going to mean that it's going to screw up. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. All right, I've got him muted, and we're going to unmute and go.
All right, we are about to proceed with the conclusion of the jury trial, but I wanted to address the issues that were brought to my attention. We have drafted a final charge that contains the lesser included offenses. The defendant is charged with rape, and the lesser included offenses as are set forth by our administrative officer report publication that we trial judges get to aid us in determining what are the lesser included offenses. Those include sexual battery or assault, and then basically assault. And as a result of that, it's my understanding that you are requesting a change in that. Is that correct, Ms. McKinney? Can I show you one thing?
Yeah, that was nice.
All right. So, Mr. Cox, do you wish to be heard on the charge?
Sir, I speak with my client and going over the lesser included. We feel under 2018.
We need you to come.
I'm sorry.
Podium.
We feel under.
Oh, sorry. We feel under 4810. Let me get my cheat sheet. 4018-118. We feel that the defendant can waive those lesser included.
And you're asking to waive the lesser included offenses entirely?
Yes. So
That way the jury would only determine whether or not there is or is not a proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Oh, right. Correct.
All right. The 4018-118,
110, sir.
110.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that statute states the following. Prior to instructing the jury on the law, the trial judge shall give the parties an opportunity to object to the proposed lesser included offense instructions. If the defendant fails to object to a lesser included offense instruction, the inclusion of that lesser included offense instruction may not be presented as a grounds for relief, whether in a motion for new trial or on appeal. Where the defendant objects to an instruction on a lesser included offense and the judge does not instruct the jury on that offense, the objection shall constitute a waiver of any objection in a motion for new trial or on appeal concerning the failure to instruct on that lesser included offense. And this is the part that's significant for this ruling. The defendant's objection shall not prevent the district attorney general from requesting a lesser included offense instructions or prevent the judge from instructing on a lesser included offense. So basically what that statute says is that you can object to it, and if the state agrees to waive any instruction on lesser included offenses, then that would be permissible and it would be a waiver of your client's objection in the event he were convicted. It would be a waiver of anything that he might have in the way of that. And I'm also relying upon the case of the State versus Gossett which is a 2017 Court of Criminal Appeals, not reported, but it's a 2017 Westlaw 1163683. That is an opinion that is relying upon that specific statute as well. So the question becomes, your client has every right to waive the lesser included offenses, but the state has a right to request lesser included offenses, and need to hear from the state regarding their position on the request.
Judge, we would request the lesser included offenses to be charged. And I've spoken with the victim and our family about this as well, and we feel it'd be appropriate to charge lesser included offenses in the case.
All right, based on the statute that I've just quoted and the case law that I've
Sorry, that wasn't much of an argument. We want lesser included. We talked to the family, so we feel like lesser included should be there. I think you feel like lesser included should be there because your case sucks, to be quite honest and blunt. That's why you want the lesser includeds there. I hate lesser included. I get it. I understand it. I don't like them because they feel like they're just room for a compromise. I think they know they're in trouble. So yeah, let's throw the lesser includeds on there so that if they can't get here, because we're not here, or at least I'm not. I don't know where the rest of you are. So if I'm not here, then probably somebody else isn't here either. I don't know. So maybe we got here. That's so annoying. Hello, Gabby. It's about time. You were effing annoyed at the bank, and I was annoyed at the state. And he didn't even make an argument. Also, I haven't seen George, so go get those fish. All right, Judge Wolf, what are you going to do here? Because why don't those go down there? I think that's crap. I don't think... But I'm not a lawyer, not a judge, not anything, just a person with opinions.
just quoted, it appears to this court that anytime we are trying to come up with a lesser included offenses on a final instruction, I'm required as a judge to determine whether or not there is a factual basis that would justify the charging of a lesser included offense. And in this particular case, based on the evidence in this trial, it is this court's opinion that the lesser included offenses of sexual battery and assault are appropriate. They are set forth in case law as being lesser included offenses of the charge of rape, and that the facts in this case warrant the instruction to the jury on lesser included offenses. So I will note that you are asking to waive that. Your objection to those will be a part of the record, and I will overrule your objection and grant the state's request to pursuant to the statute 40-18-110 subsection A that I am relying upon in making my decision. Thank you.
Can I ask you to read subsection B also?
Did you say B?
B.
B.
Obviously,
And what do you?
Well, there was never a written request from the party identifying particular lesser includeds. It says the trial judge may charge a jury on lesser included offenses, but no party shall be entitled to any lesser included offenses.
Well, again, this court's obligation is to charge the jury for the law that is applicable, and in my opinion, based on my reading of the statute, it doesn't prevent the state from requesting that. And yes, neither side has filed a written request for a lesser included offense, but it's been typical and routine that neither side files a request. And I don't know that I've ever had a specific request filed in writing in a criminal case in my time on the bench for lesser included offenses. In any event, I will note your objection to, and I've read that statute, and in my opinion, the subsection that I've referred to, which is actually subsection D that I'm relying upon rather than subsection A.
Yes. Thank you.
Judge, the state has a written request from your mind.
All right, the state is now filed with the clerk.
I would, Judge, I would object to that, late filing, just for the record.
We'll let you note your objection in any event. It appears that to waive that, your client would have to specifically waive it as an express waiver of his right to a lesser included offense. But in any event, my reading of this statute says that both sides have a right to request a lesser included offense, and that for that reason, I'm ruling that the state has the right to that lesser included offense as well. So we will proceed. Still some sort of ornament. All right, the next issue that I have to deal with is that I have been handed a question from the jury. The question reads, is there a legal or privacy issue, parentheses, reason, why Ms. Mount's interviews were not videotaped? And that question is not being asked while there's a witness on the stand, which I've instructed them. That's the time that they would have to ask that question. So the state has are you resting your proof, or are you recalling any?
The resting proof.
State is going to rest their proof. Are you intending to put on any proof?
No, sir.
All right. Then I'm going to instruct the jury that when the jury comes back, my intentions are to allow the state to state they are waiving their, or rather they're resting their proof. Then I'm going to request whether or not you are intending to call any witnesses, and then you may say that you're not doing so and you're resting your proof. And then I will deal with this issue and tell the jury that the question that has been presented is coming in late after the conclusion of the proof, and I cannot address that issue, that they will have to make their decision based on the evidence that's before them right now. We're going to do a waiver here. So let's have him come around, please, and I'll deal with that now.
Well, at least we'll hear a little bit.
We're doing him on the witness stand.
He can do it from there. Raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give in this case for the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, self and God?
Yes.
All right. You want to question your client about this?
Hallelujah, Your Honor. Mr. Clary, after much discussion with you and I going over this case over the last several months, last several days, we talked about the pros and cons of possibility to testify. You have every right to testify. But also under the Constitution, you have an absolute right not to testify. Understand that? And is it your own wishes today, and nobody's forced you or threatened you or anything, that you decided to invoke that right and not take the stand? Yes, I'd like to invoke that right.
All right, Mr. Clary, my obligation is to make sure you fully understand, and your lawyer's done a good job of questioning you about that, but do you understand that you have an absolute right to testify at your trial if you want to, and if you decide you want to testify, no one can stop you from doing that? Do you understand that? You also understand you have an absolute right under our Constitution not to testify, and that no one can force you to testify against your will. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Talk this over with your lawyer, and you and he have decided that this is in your best interest not to testify. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and I'm going to ask you to sign this waiver form. All right.
Thank you.
I know I have to take this off of here because when he brings the jury in, he brings the
Then we
jury.
are ready to bring the jury back.
They are
Yeah. No.
right on camera. So out of respect for them, I'm not going to show them. But what I might do, because I'm very curious, is pause it for a second see what the breakdown of the jury is. How many men, how many women. And Gabby, the only thing you missed was me trying to fumble through how to explain what this trial was about in the most YouTube-friendly way possible. It was awful. It was not fun. You guys are going to get to look at me for like a minute. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3. There's 3 women so far, 1 man. 4 women, 1 man. So there's 4
Ladies
men
and gentlemen, you may be seated.
that I can see.
All right. Yesterday
And
afternoon, we
6 women.
concluded with the TBI Special Agent, Mr. Turnbow. Do you have any additional proof?
No, Your Honor, that concludes the state's proof.
State has rested their proof. Mr. Cox, does the defense wish to offer any
Hopefully you
proof?
can still hear it. I'm
No,
just not going to show
I would
it.
ask for a jury out this time.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may walk back to the room.
I don't know why he didn't take care of that while they were out. All right, I can show you again. I know.
Close that door for me if you will,
Go
please.
find it and watch it yourself if you really want to see the jurors. But
All right,
I'm
Mr.
just not
Cox.
going to do it.
All right. Close the state's proof. I would ask the court, I motion the court for a motion of acquittal based upon the state's failure to prove beyond a reasonable doubt crime of rape has occurred. Court's heard the testimony today. I believe that anyone listening to this testimony would have reasonable doubt, and I'm asking for a judgment of acquittal.
Judge, I'm sure Mr. Cox misspoke, but I mean, the burden at this point is not beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the burden of the jury. What we're here is viewing the evidence in light most favorable to the state. Is there enough proof to go forward to the jury? And we would certainly there is. There's 3 elements to rape: that there was unlawful sexual penetration. Mr. Clary has admitted having sex with the victim. His DNA was found inside of her. The third, that this was done intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly. He admitted to doing this and intended to do this. We have that element. And then the second element is the consent element. And Miss Mounts testified that at no time did she consent to this. They'd never spoken about it. She was asleep and woke up to him on top of her having sex with the judge. There was no consent there.
All right, then the court, in viewing a motion for judgment of acquittal, and is required to look at the evidence in the light most favorable to the state, and based upon the testimony of Ms. Mounts, the court finds that the jury could reasonably find that the elements have been met for the crime of rape or one of the lesser included offenses, as well as the charge of rape. And as a result of that, the court finds that the motion for judgment of acquittal should be respectfully overruled. So your motion is denied. Anything before you then bring the jury in?
That's right.
Bring the jury back.
Because directed verdicts are like unicorns. I've seen 1. Well, glad I could help with that. Not sure how much, but you're welcome. So, like I said, what I could see, 6 women, what I tell you, 6 women, 4 men. That could go either way for him. You would think possibly maybe the men would be like on his side, whatever. Maybe, I don't know. And the women would automatically not be on his side. I don't think the state has proved this, but yes, he admitted they had relations. He says it was consensual. She says it wasn't. He says she was awake. She says she wasn't. There's a lot going on here that she had to sleep through. if her version is the true one. I don't know. That's the problem. Is I don't know.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right. Mr. Cox, does the defense wish to call any witnesses?
It's calling no witness.
Well, defense is rested as well, ladies and gentlemen. You have now heard all of the proof that you're going to receive in this case for the purposes of deciding the matter before you. I was handed a question from one of the jurors that says, is there a legal or privacy issue or reason why Ms. Mount's interviews were not videotaped? As I explained to you in the outset, a question that the jury may have has to be presented when a witness is on the stand. Both sides have concluded their proof before this question could be presented to a witness. And as a result of that, I cannot answer the question, and I cannot require them to put somebody back on the stand to answer that particular question. You are required to make your decision regarding this case based upon the evidence that you have received up to this point, and that is the only evidence that you will have. So I'm sorry I cannot give you a better answer on your question, but that would have had to have come during the time that a witness was on the stand. So, all right. The next.
So I think if I'm understanding that question right, and I understand what he did, why Judge Wolf did what he did, they saw his body cam footage of when the detective went to interview him. That was played for them by the state. His interview when he voluntarily went down to the police station was played by the state. We don't have her interview that night when they showed up. We don't have the husband's statement that night when they showed up. I think maybe they're wondering why. I'm wondering if they would. I think maybe they're thinking it would have been helpful to hear what she said that night after it had just happened, supposedly, instead of just her statement on the stand, because then they could weigh what changed. We don't have it.
Step of the case then is for the parties to make a summation or a closing argument, and the state will go first, and then the defense will have an opportunity to make a statement, and then after that, the state would have the opportunity to respond again if they choose. Mr. Turnbull.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your attention all day yesterday. I know this was a long day for you and coming back on Friday, but it's an important day for both sides, and we certainly appreciate you being here. September the 11th, 2021 is a day that will not be forgotten by African Americans. It was supposed to be a fun evening by a campfire and a camp out with Mr. Mounts and his daughter. And it turned into something that people will remember forever for much, much worse reasons. Ms. Mounts told you in her own words what happened. After she went upstairs from the campfire and went to bed, the next thing she woke up to was Mr. Clary on top of her having sex. She didn't consent to this. She didn't want this to happen. That's what she woke up to. And the burden of proof is on the state to prove this. We accept that burden. That's how it should be. It's the way our system works. So let's go through the elements that I have to prove to you in order to obtain a conviction. I'm going to scoot over so I can see the TV. And since all the technology I've touched just died yesterday, I brought Mr. Edwards with me to help me today. See, the first element that we have to prove is that the defendant had unlawful sexual penetration of the alleged victim. So let's start with just the sexual penetration. We know that there's not been a dispute about that. We have Miss Mounts telling you what happened. We have Mr. Clary saying they had sex. And then we have TBI coming and saying they tested the vaginal swab of Miss Mounts and Mr. Clary's DNA was on that vaginal swab. There was sexual penetration. Now, the word unlawful, we'll get to that in a minute. Let me skip over number 2 for now. We'll come back. And then number 3, the defendant acted either intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly. That answer is pretty clear for us too. Mr. Clary admitted to having sex with Ms. Mounts. He intended to. That's what the intended purpose was. So there's no question about that. So the question becomes one of consent and what would make this sexual penetration unlawful. And that is addressed in element number 2, that the sexual penetration was accomplished without the consent of the alleged victim, and the defendant knew or had reason to know at the time of the penetration that the alleged victim did not consent. And you're going to get, you don't have to worry about writing those down. You're going to get those in instructions from the judge. So he's going to read you in a copy to go back with. And it should read just exactly the same way. So what the question here is today, what you are being called upon to determine is, was this a consensual sexual encounter? So some of the things that we need to look at in determining that. First, Mr. Clary came over in the middle of it. Was, the testimony showed it was a little after midnight when he got to the Mounts residence. Now he had been invited over approximately 2 hours before that. Shows up, is invited over a little after 10 o'clock. He shows up about 2 hours later. And once he shows up, he parks about halfway down the driveway here. Doesn't pull all the way down to the house, parks about halfway down the driveway. In the middle of the night, just after midnight. He walks up to the house, and all the lights are out. It's dark. He testified that he had to use his cell phone flashlight to see where to go, what was going on. There was no activity going on in the house. It was dark. And then he just lets himself in after midnight. Lets himself in the door here. Now, in his first interview, he says Miss Mounts met him at the door. And we'll talk some more about that later. And in the second interview, he says, I walked down and I opened the door and just walked in. And then he saw someone at the top of the stairs. And the stairs, as you kind of see from that prior picture, the testimony are just to the left of the door. So when you walk in, there's the stairs in the dark house. And the testimony from Mr. Mounts was that he had been told prior to this day, I think the day before, that Mr. Mounts was going to be having a camp out with his daughter in the backyard. He wasn't going to be in there. And the testimony from Miss Mounts was that she was asleep. At the top of the stairs is her bedroom, and she was asleep in the bed. Now, Miss Mounts can't tell you what happened after Mr. Clary came in, because she was asleep. She wasn't awake to see what he did after he came in the house. Because the next thing she knows, he's on top of her, having sex with her after having ripped her underwear off. Or excuse me, not off, but into. She didn't know what underwear were. She helped law enforcement look through the house to find the underwear. And then, after being awoken to this, testimony was she kicked Mr. Clary off and told him to get out. Now, there's been a lot made of what she did, how she acted after this. Ladies and gentlemen, there's not a handbook on how to act after being raped. There's not a protocol of what exactly you're supposed to do. And we spoke early yesterday morning. Everyone reacts to traumatic situations differently. And it might not be the way you thought you would react in a traumatic situation. What you do might not make sense because you've just undergone trauma in a difficult situation. Ladies and gentlemen, September 11th of 2021, Miss Mounts was raped by a man who was supposed to be a lifelong family friend. Now, when we say that, there's been no allegations. There was a big fight. There was a big struggle. There was punching and kicking and scratching and falling. No, furniture wasn't turned over. No, there wasn't a lot of bruising and scratching. You heard Miss Mount's testimony. When I figured out what was going on, I kicked him off of him. But rape doesn't require a big fight. It doesn't require turning over furniture. It doesn't require scratching and clawing and punching. It requires sexual penetration of the victim by the defendant. It requires there to not be consent. And the defendant to know, have reason to know that there was no consent and to be done intentionally knowingly or recklessly. Ladies and gentlemen, a person cannot consent to sex with a person they have never had a relationship with a person they've never spoken to about this when they are asleep. And that's what happened in this case.
Mr. Cox?
All right, I'll be brief. George, I'm glad you showed up so you could save your fish because I told Gabby you weren't here, so she should go get them. I hate to say this because I really feel like I'm not victim shaming. I am not victim shaming. However, for me, their testimony, the Mount's testimony, is tainted a little bit because they were evasive about the situation that happened in Nashville. Does that mean that just because she did that and just because she had what sounds like a one-night stand in Nashville, that means that this didn't happen? No. But why hide? You guys tried to hide it. And probably didn't know that he had said it and when he was talking to the police, that the defendant had told what happened. So for me, when I was thinking about that this weekend, I'm like, well, if you lied about that, can I fully believe everything else that you said? I don't know. I don't know. And it's rich to me that the state is like going, you don't know how anybody's going to react. They're the first people to say, cried too much, didn't cry enough, was too angry, wasn't angry enough. They are the first sign to say all of that somebody didn't react right. So that's rich, whatever. Gabby, I don't know about that. I do not know if anybody can just be out there. I'm not reading that and not get charged. I don't know because I don't know. The state's argument here doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He admitted they did, but it wasn't consensual. DNA was there, so he's guilty. But he admitted they had relations. Whatever. Yeah, George, she was going to share the money, but now she has to pay for an attorney. All right. The state goes a little bit longer. I mean, the defense, and then the state comes back and does their rebuttal. I'm sorry, all the state's arguments were weak today. I mean, they've won them all so far, but my gosh, they're like, man, Judge, we just wanted to. Okay. It's not what happened, but it's what it feels like. That's right.
Very.
Can you, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Because I'm turned
Me
around
too.
and.
Well, no, it's mostly just the microphone's not picking you up good. Yeah, thank you.
Is that better?
I hope so. We'll see.
I hope so. I like that twang, and I know I've got one myself.
Talk about September 11th, 2021. This is the last time you're going to be here. State's gonna get to go again, but I don't. The allegations are that Clary, lifelong friend, sneaks up into the house, climbs the steps, goes into her bedroom, have sex with her. There's no denying Mr. Clary went into the house, went up the steps, had sex with her. Notice from the beginning, that's what happened. State, Ms. Mouse wants you to believe that she didn't know what he did. It was not consensual. That he snuck over there with his friend, he didn't know where his friend was at. You saw his video, he's hollering, nobody's answering. It's not unusual for him to be over there. We even heard Ms. Mouse testify that he was over there late at night. He had a little confrontation with his wife about him being over there late. But he's gonna sneak in the house with his friend 20 yards away. To rape this man. Doesn't seem plausible. Let's talk a little bit about people sitting on this stand today, or yesterday. First, when we had Miss Dina Miller Lee, the dispatcher at the time, testified that phone call came in. It was not a 911 call. It was through regular dispatch. Her husband, Tyler, had called and said, it's happened 20, 30 minutes ago. Stated that both Miss Mounts and Mr. Tyler were very calm and collected. She said the call was unusual. She then dispatches Deputy heard him testify. It's the same. Says he spoke to the dispatcher by phone. She told him he had concerns. Really weird call. He gets there, they're Tabitha, and Miss Mounts and Mr. Mounts are on the front porch. They're not distraught, not calm. Really, they're calm, not distraught. Now, for a second, let's go to Tyler's testimony where he testified that Miss Mounts comes hysterical, crying, hysterical to the tent to wake them up. Yet when they call 911, you heard it. It's calm, there's no crying, there's no hysteria. Officer gets the scene, they're calm, closed, no distraught. He says he found no evidence of a struggle or any evidence of that. He smelled some alcohol, but she wasn't impaired. No signs or marks of any injury. Now, take the salt kill. Well, let's go to Tyler. Tyler testifies that she was hysterical. He'd been asleep in the tent. That he called police. And I asked him, why didn't he call 911? Well, I had the dispatcher number in my phone. State tries to get him to say, well, it's because he said I had two cousins with the sheriff's department. State tries to get him to say, oh, well, because you had the dispatcher's number in your phone, it's because you called him before. He said, no, I never called him. But he had a dispatcher's phone number. It said just 911. Very calm on that 911 call.
And that was another weird thing. When they was asking him about having the dispatcher's phone number in his phone, why do you have it in there? I don't know. That was odd to me. I'm not trying to pick this person apart, but it was just odd. And then the state tried to save him. He's right with like your two cousins work for the sheriff's department, right? Oh yeah, is that why you have that in there? No. um. Okay, George. If I had all the facts of the relationship between the two couples, that would weigh heavily on my decision. We don't have all those, but with the facts that we do have, we know the defendant's wife was with her in Nashville when she had a one night stand. We know the defendant's wife told her husband about the one night stand. We know that then that split the couples. I would have a lot of questions for both of them. And it would be difficult because you go with his version, there's infidelity. You go with her version, he's awful. So I don't know. I would say they're probably not together. That's probably not a bridge I could cross and repair. That'd be a burnt bridge for me for all of them. I don't know. I doubt it. But it wouldn't be because I thought with the information that I have to clarify that. It wouldn't be because I thought he did the horrible thing to her. It would be because I thought he did a bad thing, which I wouldn't trust him. Yes, trust would be gone. And for me, if I don't trust you anymore, I don't trust you ever. I will never fully trust you again. If you break my trust, it's sorry. Like it does not ever return to the level that it was ever. There will always be reservations about everything you say and everything you do. And I will never fully believe you. So that would be a huge issue for me because trust would be gone. Yes. So I don't know. It's a bad situation. It's bad all the way around. And yeah, I don't know I wonder where his wife is in all of this.
Tyler said he went to bed about 11:30 that night.
Yes, I agree.
Everything shows that Dylan got there around 12. Dylan has a goatee. Tyler had a goatee, has one. I asked him if he had that goatee time of this incident. He said yes. Video showed that obviously Mr. Clary didn't have a full beard. He also had a little longer. A goatee, it's like Mr. Mounts had. We go to Detective Saltfield, 28 years law enforcement, 8 years of investigating. He testified 98% of his investigations for sex crimes. He testified when he first arrived, a couple hours after this event. He gets there, Miss Mounts and Mr. Mounts are on the front porch. Calm. Unusual, he said, at a rape scene. She had to go put up the barking dog. The one that Miss Mount said never barked when somebody came into her house, she claims, and snuck up the stairs and raped her. Detective Saltfield says he went upstairs to look at the room where this took place. Nothing disturbed. Remember Miss Mounts talked about she had a tampon in. She hadn't taken her tampon out. The tampon was never found. No underwear was found at the scene, that they were around her waist. After he collected some more evidence, bedding, clothes. Remember, we asked Miss Mounts and Mr. Saltfield confirmed the question whether she'd get those items back. He then asked her to go to take a rape kit, get a rape kit done at Floresville, no. Her concern with how long that was going to take. You saw him go then around 5 o'clock and knock on the door. Dylan comes to the door. Dylan talks to him, cooperative, tells him what happened. Yeah, I went over there. Yeah, we had sex. Yeah, she got pissed. I left. But then I came back. Testimony was in the video and the interviews, probably around 10 minutes to drive up almost a big A road, turn around, go back. This guy who just allegedly raped somebody would turn around and go back 10 minutes later, 7 minutes later, whatever it is, to get his phone. On that he raped somebody, police are probably on their way. But they weren't, because nobody had called for shit. And heard, and you'll hear it. Dylan. Well, what's she saying? It's Investigator Salt. Investigator Saltfield says, well, she's saying there was rape. Excuse me for saying this, but he said, rape? God dang. He has some emotion. Nobody else did that. There was a second interview. Comes wheeling to the sheriff's department, meets with Investigator Saltfield. And he does. He says, I got there, I yelled, Tyler, Tabitha, Tyler. No answer, go in the house. He said, we're just buddies. Hell, I could go over and slap him on his ass. I've been in my 20s before. I'd say that's probably not out of the ring. That's a young man. He does say, then he sees somebody at the top of the stairs and goes up. And they start having their encounter. I asked Detective Saltfield, is it unusual when you interview someone right after an incident happened and a day or two or three after it happens, if things can change, but the story stays the same? He said, not unusual at all. 28 years of law enforcement investigating cases, not unusual at all. I asked him again, do you have any problems with his two interviews? Nope. No problems. Asked to take the soft kill again. You interviewed other people? Yes. You interviewed Miss Mammoth at the house. And again, yes. Do you have any issues with her interviews? He said yes. Talk about Miss Mammoth's testimony. She says she went to bed, was sleeping, had 2 shots of tequila earlier in the night, at least 2 hours prior to this incident. She wakes up to the motion of having sex. And she feels a beard and she says, oh, it's not my husband's. Kicks at him, doesn't get out of there. Tells you that she had a tampon in, but she had a miscarriage on the 7th. It just stopped her taking birth control a few days before that, but she had a miscarriage on the 7th, and this is the up. Had a tampon. Doesn't know where the tampon's at. And she can't find her underwear. Later, she finds them at the hospital or around her waist. Not just regular underwear. They're fine. They were stretchable, spandex, border underwear. And they're ripped in the crotch. Take a salt kill, interviewed. He says, yeah, I ripped them. So she's sleeping. There's no tampon found, so he removed it. Ripped these panties, who the testimony was that Mr. Mounts and Miss Mounts both get a pair like it and try to rip them again. And she doesn't wake up or know what's going on. She doesn't feel anything until she wakes up to having sex, but she didn't realize her tampon had been taken out or under her been ripped. I asked her, is it normal for her to wake up having sex? And she said, well, sometimes. Probably wouldn't have been that night. I would think Tyler would not have be having sex with me because he knew I had a tampon in and it had a miscarriage. Well, who did she think it was? She knew it was. She was Dylan Clary. Because they had been making out. We went upstairs. Her husband's downstairs. They've been making out. Stupid thing to do. But it was consensual. When she was asked why she didn't call someone or why Tyler called the police, she said, because I couldn't remember how to use my phone. But she did testify before that she tried to call a friend right after it happened. But then she doesn't get a hold of that friend. She doesn't go. She doesn't call 911. She doesn't go wake Tyler up. She just stands in the house by the door. We know that's at least 7 to 10 minutes. And then Mr. Clary shows back up. She says he gets her phone, gives it back, goes it back to her, whatever. She lets him just go right on in the house. Go get his phone. And this is a woman who says this, some guy's come in here, has pulled my tampon out, has ripped my underwear, has had sex with me. I didn't know he was doing it. It wasn't consensual. But I'm going to go back in and get his phone. And then Dylan leaves and goes home. And then she goes to place. And the whole time, this goal not working. I asked her a question. Heard an interview. Dylan says, get upstairs, start kissing, get a little more sex. I asked her, you have oral sex with Dylan? And she says, not that I know of. Not that I know of.
Okay, I missed that on Friday. I missed him asking her if she did mouth stuff to him, and she says, not that I know of. You do that in your sleep often? You're like, wow. I mean, wouldn't that be like every man's dream? Just roll over and she just does it in her sleep. She don't even know. But good for you. I mean, come on. Oh my gosh. This gets worse. I missed that. Yeah, see, George was like, send me that woman. If she doesn't exist, George. She does not exist. I promise you. Wow. That's crazy. I don't want to. I don't want to. Oh, not these kinds of hidden talents. Yeah. Oh, man. That just makes it even harder to believe that her events are the what happened. Yeah, that just, well, the only way I know how to phrase it is that just blew my mind. I don't know how else to say it. And I don't know why he keeps that screen up there. He's not using it. And I'm also wondering, how in the world did we miss that on Friday?
I would submit to you that maybe you don't know your tampon's been taken out. Obviously, as a man, I have no idea.
So I didn't want to say it.
Maybe you don't feel somebody ripping your pants, that Mr. Mounts or Miss Mounts could rip, but don't feel that pressure. But not to know whether or not that I know of, that I gave someone oral sex.
Yep. That's crazy.
I've
Mm-mm.
That's a free decision on that. Dylan was walking the law enforcement twice. And why, think about this. Why would he say? Why was Dylan say? Yeah, she was pissed. She told me to go. She told me to leave. Why would he say that? How similar are these two stories? Everything that she said about, oh, I kicked him. He says she kicked him. He said she was pissed. When he comes back, she says, I told him to get out of here. He says, she told me to leave. Why wouldn't he just say, yeah, we had sex. Everything's fine. I left. Got on the phone, went back. But he didn't. He didn't. He's telling the truth. If he's such a liar, why would he say, oh, yeah, she was pissed? Because he's being truthful. Being truthful. Folks, when I asked Mr. and Miss Mount what the blow up was about, it's something that Dylan's wife told Mr. Mounts about something that Miss Mounts had done. Oh, no, nothing like that. Well, that interview, Dylan tell you why they were pissed, why they all had it falling out. Remember that? The bachelorette party? Something that happened with Miss Mounts that night? You heard it. That's the second interview with Dylan, for all adults here, I know it's always uncomfortable when people are talking about sex. I don't care how old you get or how old you know you are. But he describes things that if someone's being raped, they're not moving their legs in a different position. Get more comfortable. They're not allowing people to fondle their breasts. They would know if they gave someone oral sex. It wouldn't say, not that I recall. Just doesn't add up. There's too many. There's just too many gaps in this. Now, no. Remember, I showed you this at the beginning. Things we talked about. Here were our things we talked about, the evidence that's presented. I want you to look at this right here. There's these steps to get to where you have to get to prove them guilty, or the state has to get to prove them guilty. Well, the first one is no evidence. That means no evidence whatsoever, obviously not guilty. Now, we do have evidence, but the evidence is what we admitted to at the beginning, right? We told you we had sex. There's no question that there was his DNA was gonna be on Miss Mounts. They had sex. But remember when I talked to TBI and I asked them, I said, well, the buccal swab, could you have tested for semen or any other DNA from the oral swab? Yes. Did you? No. We'd have known the answer to that, not that I know of. Scintilla. That just means any evidence at all, even the most measurable amount of evidence. Not guilty. Reasonable suspicion. That's the reasonable suspicion is what law enforcement has to have to pull you over to write you a ticket, something like that. That's not guilty. Probable cause. Reasonable and trustworthy information that a particular person has committed a particular crime. More probable that it happened. What law enforcement has to have, make an arrest. Not guilty. Preponderance of the evidence. This is the greater weight or amount of evidence. Meaning the evidence is against Mr. Clary. Not guilty. Clear and convincing evidence. That's a firm belief that the allegations are true. That is what the state or anybody else has to have when they take your kids away. When you lose your rights to your children, you have to have clear and convincing evidence. That is a not guilty in this courtroom. That means the belief that the allegations are true. That's a very high standard, but we're still not there for the state to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Dylan Clary was guilty of rape. The next one is reasonable doubt. Folks, we got to get above reasonable doubt for a guilty verdict. You sit here, you've been very attentive. I appreciate that so much. The state has failed to prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that a rape occurred. Buyer's remorse. Buyer's remorse. It's a horrible situation we're in. There's two grown adults. They got in the thralls of passion, had sex, one party realized, oh no, my husband's gonna find out. Maybe he didn't. I'm not gonna call anybody. Oh no, Dylan's coming back to get his phone. Oh no, is he awake out in the tent now? Does he know something's going on? We're in a corner. What do we do? What do we do? It's not possible. Not that I know of. No emotion. Calm. Investigators say unusual. I think you find it unusual too.
feel like Judge Wolf and I are staring at each other.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, we have a top dispatch over here to 128 Little O I Drive. That's spelled Little O, J-A-I Drive.
Okay.
in Mountain View. My wife just woke me up and said that she was raped by a guy that I know. And she woke me up frantic and crying and everything because I was out here with my little girl in a tent and I had no idea what's going on.
Okay.
I,
Okay, and you said this was your wife?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, and how old is she?
She is 28.
28? Okay, and what, let me get some more information. What is your name?
My name is Tyler Mouse, Mounts, and she is right here beside me.
This one. Okay. Let me just get some information here. Got your phone number, 931-305-9720.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and
All right. I didn't catch that she was only 28. Not that there's anything wrong with being 28. It's pretty awesome. But it's young. And you still have dumb ideas in your mind then to do stuff like this that maybe she has done. I don't know. It is my opinion. So I'm not saying she has done anything. I'm just saying what it feels like she may have done is revenge against him, or maybe they did what they did and then she had immediate regret about it. And so then she had to cover her tracks. I'm not sure. I don't know. There's so many ways this could go and so many things that could have happened. I don't know.
okay, what is your wife's name?
Tabitha.
Sorry.
Tabitha Mouse?
Tabitha?
Yes, Tabitha.
Okay. And do you know who the individual was that raped you?
Yes,
Okay, and what was his name?
Dylan Clary,
Dillin?
Dylon.
Dylon. Okay, and the last name?
Clary, Clary.
Clary. Okay. And when did this occur?
Like maybe 20 minutes ago. Is that 30?
Okay.
Like I was just sleeping and woke up to him and made it known that he left.
Okay, she woke up and he was on top of you.
Well,
And is he still there?
No, he's gone.
And do you know, did he leave driving?
Yes, he's probably, I'm assuming, heading home at this point. I mean,
Okay,
but
where,
he's going on the spring
what
street.
was he driving?
You would, you want.
It would probably be a white, GMC Denali truck.
Denali. Okay, and did you say he lived on Spring Street?
He lived off, Hickory Hill Drive.
Hickory Hill Drive. You don't know the exact address by any chance?
I do not,
Well, I'm sure, I mean, we've already got, we've got officers on the way to your house now. So I'm sure
thank
that,
you.
yeah, they'll probably try to get more information.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, we do have officers en route, so they'll get it taken care
okay, thank you very much.
of. Uh-huh.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye.
Well, what did she do, y'all?
Well, I'm looking into rape.
Rape?
Yeah,
God damn.
yeah.
Motion, no emotion. Again, thank you. Last time you'll hear from me, but remember what we talked about at the very beginning. Make the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Guilty, Clary, guilty, Brady. He's an innocent man. Not proved beyond a reasonable doubt. Go to your convictions. You know what I told you at the beginning? I called him a jerk, but in his own statements on that video, he said it was a real bastard move. And I disagree, it was a real bastard move, to have sex with your wife's friend or your friend's wife. But it doesn't make you a rapist. Thank you.
So vote.
Why is this so unusual? Why is it unusual how she's acting? Why is it unusual that a husband calms his wife down before they call 911 or the non-emergency number? Why is it unusual that you're not thinking straight after you're woken up in the middle of the night? Is that unusual? With all due respect to the 911 operator and even investigator Saltfield, who's an excellent investigator, it doesn't matter if they think it's unusual. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is what you think. And I want you to remember this too. Unusual, even if you find that that behavior would be unusual, doesn't mean it didn't happen. Unusual just means that's not what I would have expected. Doesn't mean they're lying. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. You are the sole judges of the credibility of the evidence and the witnesses. You saw mismounts on the witness stand. Defense wants a motion. You saw a motion. Sure, the night right after she was woken up and raped in the middle of the night, Ms. Mounts just kind of shut down after she went and talked to her husband. We talked about that. We don't know how we're going to react in a situation like that, in a traumatic situation. No one can know for sure how they're going to react in a traumatic situation. There's no handbook telling you what to do. Is it unusual? I don't know. Does it matter? No. What matters is, did this happen? And as I said, it's your job to determine the credibility of the evidence. And I want to go through a few things to get you started with that.
All right, you got there, you pulled in. Was you close to the house or did you have to walk to the house? I was about halfway. Okay, all right. So you walked down, what happened then? I went down there and, I hollered for Tyler. I told to Tyler, but I ain't got good service over there. And I never heard him. And then, she come downstairs and was at the door, and I walked to the door. Okay. And that's whenever I went inside. Okay.
So this is the night of. This is September 11th. I parked about halfway down. Miss Mounts came to the door. This isn't the second time. Miss Mounts came to the door, and that's whenever I went inside. So sure, it's not unusual for small details in someone's story to change over time. We're talking 2 days. And this is not a small detail. This is how this whole encounter started. Let's hear what happened in the next interview, how he says it.
It's dark as heck. Well, I go in and just, I walked into the door, I'm walking, and it's dark, I got my phone, I got my light, you know. And I'm looking around, I don't see anybody. And I kind of opened the door and I said, hey, Tyler. I kind of step in, I'm kind of listening, you know what I mean? And just whenever you're walking in, and I'm constantly saying, Tyler.
In the middle of the night, no one's awake, using a cell phone light and just lets himself in. That's a big difference from 2 days earlier when Miss Mounts met me at the door. And you heard the whole interview. I just played a clip of it. I don't want to make you sit through the whole thing again. They had, in the first interview, we said we had small talk. We went in there and we just kind of talked a little bit. Where's Tyler? What you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I think was his word. That's not at all what he says 2 days later. That's no small detail. Let's look at another detail.
Was he not wearing underwear? I didn't, no. I don't think so. Okay. Because we ripped him off. Okay. You ripped him off or she ripped him off? She told me to rip him off.
We ripped them off. She told me to rip them off. The underwear is what we're talking about here. That was the story on the night of the incident. And let's hear how it changed a couple of days later.
What happened to her? Did she tell you to do anything to him? We was just having sex, and I was like, and that thing kept like, you know what I mean? Yeah, getting in your way? Yeah. Okay. And I realized that this wasn't no ordinary pair of underwear. I mean, I'm sorry, I know that sounds stupid, but seriously, that's what was going on in my mind, you know. And it was in your way. It was in my way, yeah, you know, and I just I kind of like got it out of the way. Okay. Yeah, I yanked it out of the way. Did she say anything? No.
It was in my way, so I yanked it out of the way. Did she say anything? No. Night of, she told me to rip them, told me to take them off, rip them off. 2 days later, did she say anything? No. It was in my way, so I got it out of the way. And the defense kept talking about emotion. Ladies and gentlemen, she didn't know where her underwear were. They were around her waist still. You heard the testimony from her when she went to the hospital. That's where they found them, around her waist. If she's not emotional, how does she not know where her underwear are? She put pants back on. And she didn't know where her underwear were. Is that the emotional state of someone who's just calm, cool, and collected? Doesn't even know there's underwear around their waist? So the defense's version of this came over in the middle of the night. That's not disputed. Left himself in the house. That's not disputed. There are no lights on. I told you in his interview, I had my phone flashlight walking around. And he hadn't talked to Miss Mounts about this happening before. This isn't something that was set up. This isn't something they talked about happening.
Did y'all talk about meeting at any time?
No, I wish. I mean, I really wish.
To talk about meeting at any time? No. It's not something that was planned or set up. It's not something Miss Mounts consented to. There wasn't a phone call saying, hey, come over, let's have sex. My husband's in the backyard. Didn't happen. Why? Because she didn't consent to it. It's not something she wanted to happen. And the defense, the theory of their case is that this person who hadn't set this up in the middle of the night with the lights out, Mr. Clary goes up and Miss Mounts wants to have sex with him after she's had a miscarriage, just days after. That she wants to have sex with him with her husband and her child in the backyard and her younger child in the other room. While she'd had a tampon in. And the thought is, oh yeah, let's go have sex with my husband's best friend. While she's wearing these maternity or non-rippable underwear.
Non-rippable.
I mean, and I don't mean to be crude, but if the thought was, hey, let's.
I'm sorry, I've never seen those. I've never seen them advertised. Oh my gosh. This has gotten so crazy. Oh my gosh. There's an idea for a product. Maybe it can save you. Non-rippable underwear. Or an alarm that goes off if somebody rips it in the middle of the night. Lets you know everything you did.
Let's go have sex with my husband's best friend. Is that what you're gonna wear? Does that make sense? And this is where, ladies and gentlemen, your common sense and your life experience comes in that we talked about in Board I. Apply that to these facts. Does this make sense? That Miss Mounts, after being outside with her husband and her child, having a nice evening, just decides in the middle of the night when Mr. Clary comes in that, hey, this is the time I'm going to have sex with him, right after this miscarriage with my tampon in. That makes sense to you? And Mr. Cox brought up Miss Mount's answer to the oral sex when she said, not that I know of. Of course she didn't know. She was asleep. Would she have waken up if he did that? I don't know. Did he do that? Miss Mounts doesn't know. The only person who's saying that happened is Mr. Clary. What we know happened after Miss Mounts woke up is corroborated. She knows that he had sex with her because she woke up while he was doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been over these. These are the elements that I have proved for you to find Mr. Clary. You've heard the proof and you know what the proof shows. I want you to think over just a couple other things though while you're looking at those elements. If this was consensual sex, why would Miss Mounts have said anything at all?
I hope not.
Why not just leave it? Her husband knew. He didn't get caught. She knew he was still asleep. She didn't feel like it. Why? The defense would have you to believe it's over an argument from over a decade ago. That makes sense. Hey, from a decade ago, I think I'm gonna, get my revenge. I'm gonna make this up. And then I'm gonna make this up, and I'm gonna go through telling my husband that I was raped and seeing his emotions. I'm gonna go through having to have a rape kit done, having a nurse or a doctor take a DNA swab of her vagina. You think that might be embarrassing? I'm gonna go through the legal process. I'm gonna come sit on this stand, tell strangers what happened to me, and then have a very good defense attorney cross-examine me and ask all kinds of questions and poke and prod and have to relive what happened. Why would she do all that if this was consensual sex? And again, I'll say, she did not have much emotion on the 911 call, where the officers testified when they got there. Traumatic experience, you saw emotion on someone. And I'm not telling you to ignore any evidence. What I'm asking you to do is put it in the lens of your common sense and life experience and look at it all as a whole and see if it makes sense to you. Another question. Why did she get so mad if this was consensual sex? Mr. Cox said, why would Mr. Clary say that she did? I don't know. But what I know is she got mad. And they both say that. They both give nearly identical versions of what happened after she found out it was Mr. Clary on top of her having sex with him. She kicks him off. She tells him to get out, and they have some words. She gets mad. Why get mad if this was consensual sex? You get mad because Miss Mounts never consented to having sex with Mr. Clary. That's why she got mad. That's why she made a report. That's why she told her husband. That's why she went through the legal process. That's why she sat on the stand. That's what happened. You're going to get jury instructions from the judge, and there's a phrase in there that I really like. It says, you must render your verdict with absolute fairness and impartiality, as you think justice and truth do. That's your job as a juror. When you go back into that room, we ask you to seek the truth, seek what the truth is, and then render a verdict as justice.
Well, did the closings change your mind any? They just made it even crazier for me. What I hate about this trial and trials like this is, and I had to have a conversation with a family member of mine. It's who's a lot older than I am. It's a woman, because somebody had came out years later and said somebody had assaulted them, and she didn't understand why women can sometimes wait so long to say these things. So I told her that most women don't tell at all. Right or wrong, especially if it's somebody they know, they don't tell at all. And sometimes it can take one person coming out and saying, this person did something to me, for the next one to come and the next one to come and the next to follow. I'm going to use that word instead. Follow. And I also told her she doesn't live here. She doesn't live in my state. She lives in a very small town. Lived there my entire life. That I guarantee when she meets with her group of friends, and it's just the women sitting around talking and what have you, she is sitting next to somebody who has been assaulted and has never told, ever. Because we tend to not. I'm not shaming anybody that does, because good on them for doing it. These trials are so hard because don't falsely accuse somebody, because then it makes it harder. That's why women don't come out. That's why they don't tell, because then you get moments like this. I mean, I'm sitting here questioning this woman's story. I feel awful about it, but I can't help it. Her and her husband haven't been truthful about everything. So I could not, if I was on that jury, sorry, they wouldn't be changing my mind. I can't convict him. And I feel horrible. I mean, I've thought about this stupid trial all weekend. Absolutely. I mean, this lie, okay, their relationships are destroyed, period. George, you brought up a good point. His wife is probably gone. They're probably getting divorced or are divorced because this happened in 21. I don't know the size of the town that they all live in, but there's going to be a division there, depending on the size of the town, that people that think he did it, people that don't think he did it. So his life could be destroyed there no matter what. And he may have to leave. But there's also going to be people that don't believe her either. There's going to be people that believe her, people that don't. So her life is going to be different. I don't know. I mean, thanks, George. And I agree. It is important to see it and discuss it. Like you said, I think all the females in the chat Friday changed your mind because we gave you a different perspective about at least our feelings and our thoughts about what she was saying and the things that she was saying that she did or did not do, not necessarily involving her actions with him. It was her actions beforehand. And I mean, I'm glad we did. I'm glad we could give you the other perspective. And maybe that's what happened in the jury room. I don't know. I'm sure it was eye opening and probably found out things you did not want to know and didn't need. You're probably like, I didn't need to be. You're probably sitting there going, I did not need to know any of this. All right. So I'm going to skip over the jury instructions because so boring. The judge is going to come back on the bench. They're going to go to lunch. And then, so I'm just going to go right to it. This is going to be a really short stream today, so I apologize. The other trial that I was hoping to stream that was supposed to start this morning, I watched it, was watching the court documents update. So that's why I was running a little bit behind. And the guy took a plea deal, so that's not happening. Like, yay, plea deals. Thanks. Thanks, plea deal. I don't blame him. It was a horrible trial. It was a horrible crime. He deserves nothing but life in prison. And we'll see if the other person that was involved, who is a minor, but I probably is being charged as an adult. We'll see if he goes to trial in, I think, August. It is a crime against a child, not parents, not horrible parent crime, just horrible people crime. And it's a 5-year-old. They did horrible things to him, unalived him, and put him in a dumpster. One guy was 27, the guy took the plea deal, the other was 15 at the time. Oh, and yes, that sums that up. And it's because one of them, I believe, was bored. And I can't remember. I was thinking it was the younger one was bored. And he just felt like he felt like beating somebody up or something. I don't know. And I don't remember how this poor child came into the picture. It's cute as a button. Cute as could be. Yeah, it's a great reason. So he took a plea deal this morning. The 27-year-old did. I just saw that I didn't even read. It's like, okay, fine. You pled guilty. They dropped two of the charges. He actually gets sentenced the day before my birthday in July. And I hope that it's in Wisconsin, so he should get life because that's what they have. All right, so I wonder if he's going to say something here because I have him back when I was doing my timestamps yesterday, and then the jury back in like 15 more minutes. And that's him muted, not me. And I don't know who the pretty girl is. Maybe that's her man she's talking to. You're a Libra. I'm a Leo. My husband's a Gemini. Let me tell you, they're exciting. My daughter-in-law is also a Gemini. And they are very much very like. They are very, very like. And the twins exist because you never know which version you're getting. You're a pumpkin. Like checking to make sure I'm not muted. He's muted, not me. Ah, just your Halloween, baby. There we go. Your Valentine's.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You don't even have to sit down. I just wanted you to come back in on the record to let you know that now that you're all back, we're going to go ahead and let you start resume your deliberations. This is the verdict form, which I think was omitted from what was sent back with you. And I'm going to have the officer hand that to you, so you can take that back with you. And you will be able to resume your deliberations and let us know if and when you're able to reach your verdict. Thank you. You may go. We're now on the record showing that the jury is resuming their deliberations at 1:30.
So I found this interesting because I guess they were just back from lunch. He hands them the verdict form at 4:12, so 4:13, and they came back at 4:33. So they had probably pretty much made up their minds maybe before they went to lunch. Because they weren't back there long. Yeah.
All right, until the jury foreman has a question and requested a conference with me, but I've explained to them that I cannot have a conference outside of the record, so that any issues that they have to discuss will need to be brought before the court. So, right, we are ready for the jury to come in. Or do you want to get your victims?
I just texted her, Judge. She said she's on her way up.
Are they on the way up?
Yes.
Oh. We'll wait for them.
Shouldn't he call them the alleged victims? Oh, Judge.
Judge, the visitors come in, I know they're all set in the hallway.
If we need to go ahead and get the victim's family and Victor, the victim is who you want, right?
Yes, sir.
Judge Wolf, while we're waiting, could you tell me when Haley Brown's going to be sentenced, please? That'd be great. Be great. I know I'm gonna miss it, but I'll find it and then I'll still play it. We are going to finish that trial. Also, be careful that the victim did not want to be on camera, so maybe judge. Dang it. we're finishing that trial, George. I don't care if it's a year from now. Haley Brown, I'm going to listen to your sentence. Feel like I should be like entertaining you somehow. Also, not to just like, I don't want anybody to think I'm just like being mean about women. I'm not doing that, George. But I'm telling you, there are some very, very vindictive, patient women out there. And if you think that they won't wait 10 years to get you, you're wrong.
Oh, did they go to court for lunch? Let's have a seat till we round everybody up and we'll bring the jury and you can stand.
Will not dance of any kind.
We're ready, Judge.
All right, now we'll bring the jury up.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it would be absolutely brutal revenge. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. It is not out of the realm of possibility. We do not forget very easily. Especially if you've caused us issues. I would never do it. The older you get, you just be like, okay, whatever, I don't need you in my life anymore, so you leave. But when you're younger, I'm telling you, that's when you that's when you can plot crap. You'll plot this stuff out. Older, yeah, you'll just be like,
Thank you. Have a
bye.
seat, please. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the officers told me that your foreman or forelady had requested that you have a conference with me. And I want to explain everything that we do in this case must be on the record. And as a result of that, even though it may just be a question, it may be something that I could have answered without having to bring you all in. The procedural rules require that you come into the courtroom, all the parties be present, and at that point, then we can address whatever your issue is. So whoever it was that had the question, could you please let me know what your question is?
Yes, Your Honor. We are just wondering, we are very deadlocked. We were talking and discussing and everything, and we're not getting a whole lot of ground.
Without telling me who is what, can you tell me what the numerical division is?
7 and 5.
All right, so it's a fairly evenly divided.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, is there any expectation that further discussions would lead to an agreement between you? You're not required to give up, as I explained to you, your beliefs on the situation. So it's just a question of whether any of you believe that there was a further negotiation, a further discussion would be fruitful. Anybody have that idea?
It doesn't seem so.
All right. Anything either side wish to be heard on this matter?
No, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to declare a mistrial based upon your deadlock in your jury. These things happen. When I tell you in the instructions that you're not required to give up your heartfelt beliefs in order to simply arrive at a verdict, we mean that. We mean that it should be the unanimous verdict of all of you, and that everyone should agree. That's the way our system works. So that you don't have to feel bad about this. You don't have to feel like you failed in your mission. I appreciate your time and your consideration. But the fact of the matter is that these things occur occasionally. And sometimes when it's this evenly divided, it's pretty clear that we're not likely to have any consensus results. So I'm going to declare mistrial. You are now discharged from further service in this case, and you will not have to serve again potentially until July. I'll leave it up to Mr. Hunt as to whether or not you're going to be called again for service in July, but it may be they have enough without calling you. So we'll see if that works. Thank you for your time. If you will go to the officers and you go back to the jury room, you can turn in your badges, collect your personal effects, and then you'll be on your way. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Gabby, they did not say how it was split, just that it was 7 to
Ladies
5.
and gentlemen, just so you know, the lawyers may want to talk to you if you're willing to talk to them. That's entirely up to you all. But they may want to get an idea about how to proceed in the future. So if they talk to you, that is permissible, but you're not required to talk to them. All right. Then we are having declared a mistrial. We will need to let the state determine whether or not they want to retry it. And if you do, we'll need to set you a trial date.
Yes.
You want to think about it before we get to that point.
I would prefer to do that.
All right, you and Mr. Cox can contact my office and Ms. McKinney can give you a new trial date. Or you can select one of those trial dates in November if you want to retry it. And then we'll go from there. I don't know how the division was, whether it was 7 to convict or 7 to acquit, but in any event, when it's that equally divided, it's not likely you're going to be able to get a verdict. So.
Yes.
Then this court will stand adjourned, and based on the fact that this is a mistrial, the case will be reset for trial, or I'll leave it up to the state to determine what they want to do.
Thank you.
All right, we stand adjourned.
And good on the state for not just automatically saying, oh no, we're going right back. Good, they're going to think about it. They probably would, my guess would be they went back and talked to the jury. Both sides should have gone back and talked to the jury if the jury wanted to talk to them and see how that split was. Because if it was 7 to acquit, the state really needs to think about it hard, long and hard. Hate to use that. Well, sometimes it feels like the state, when there's a mistrial, that they just like, they are, it's like their pride is in the way and they just can't not. No, like, we have to try it. Sometimes you don't have it. You just don't have it. If you don't have it, stop. So like in Ty's case, it was very strange when Judge Jones declared the mistrial, because he was like, all right, we got to get this back on the calendar. They didn't even ask the state if they wanted to think about it. He just like, we're just going to put it right back on the calendar. So it was weird. Lots of things weird in that. I agree, Gabby. It would be interesting to hear what they thought, how they were split, and where the issues were. Oh, I would always ask the jury questions too. Just, don't blame them for not wanting to talk. And he didn't do it a lot in this one, and I just don't know if it was if it was because of the nature of the trial. I like this judge that he allows the jury to ask questions. I like trials like that. It's very interesting to me because sometimes they ask the things that we're not thinking about, or, it may get one side or the other kind of to maybe take a different direction because they can kind of see how the jury might be leaning. I mean, trying to read a jury sometimes I think is like trying to read tea leaves in the bottom of your cup and predict the future. Yeah, they did. But like in that Haley Brown trial, I think they asked questions like after every witness. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit my mic. After every witness, he kind of took these questions weird. Like, hey, the jury handed me a note. It was really odd. I'm representing my home state today. All right. Well, that's all I got. Like, yeah. And that's odd because he should have asked before the witness was. I don't think he was going to allow, like, when she was on the stand, I think he maybe wouldn't have allowed them to ask questions right then. You know what I mean? Like, that's touchy. McBurney would have been like, "You guys got any questions?" He doesn't care who's on the stand. And his voice, his Judge McBurney's voice, he sounds like his voice started changing and got stuck there. It cracks me up because it reminds me of the episode of the Brady Bunch where I think it was Peter's voice that started changing. And it's hilarious. Like, Judge McBurney, your voice hasn't changed yet. You're still going through puberty. And that's funny. I don't know. I don't know what we'll be doing Wednesday. Something will come up. It always does. I have an appointment Wednesday morning at 8:30. I should be back in time, but I may set my stream to start at 11 just in case. Just in case I'm running a little bit late, but I should be like one of the first appointments of the morning, so it shouldn't be that long. And whatever's. So just be aware. I'm just going to set whatever we're doing for a half hour later than normal, just in case I get stuck in traffic or, something dumb like that. Because I have to go out into the world, which is dumb. Thanks, George. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. They will not. Never mind. I'm not even going to say it. It'd be very inappropriate for me to say it. I'm not saying it. And I'll leave it at that. So you guys go enjoy the rest of your day. Sorry we're not hanging out longer. But go be productive. George, go have some dinner if you haven't already. Oh, yes, that is past my bedtime. I'm going to have to probably grab her on the weekends if I get the chance. The only reason I got the chance this past weekend was to be on there is because it rained all weekend. I couldn't mow. So that's what I'm going to go do right now. But you guys, if you guys haven't been there, Grandma's house it's fun. I've only been there. I participated once. I've watched more than once because I went back and watched some replays. But she plays Wordle, Kahoot. She's doing trivia, and so and you play the game live with, and it's a good time. It's good people in there. Like Gabby said, it is just a very nice change from trials that get really heavy. And like, you just need to think about something else for a little bit. Oh, I have some news. So I don't have to wear mittens when I'm at my house because I like all the people that live by me. But the people that I told you that it was a good thing I did have my mittens on that day, it was so cold when I had to mow, so they couldn't see if I held up a certain finger. They moved over the weekend. They out of here. So later. We are so happy. Everybody over there is so happy that they are gone. I'm sorry to the neighborhood they're going to, because we dealt with them for 2 years. Before that, they lived in their previous place for 2 years. So there's a pattern with these people. They're miserable, and they just want everybody around to be miserable, and they can't figure out that they're the common denominator in all the problems. So they can get on their way down the road, and I don't ever have to see them again or deal with them or worry about wearing mittens when I mow. Unless it's cold outside, and it was cold that day. So very happy. We were all very happy. That's polite. That is polite. The stories I could tell you. Not so much about to my family, but to our friends that unfortunately lived right next to them. And so we went out with them Friday night and celebrated, and everyone is happy. But yeah. Yep. You can't pick your neighbors. That's why I don't have any real close by. Like, I can wave at you across the field. So, that's as close as I'm getting. I want space in between me and the people around me. I can't. I can live in the city. I couldn't do it. It would make me claustrophobic. I see those houses that like touch each other. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know. It makes me nervous. Gives me anxiety. But good on you for doing it. And liking. If you like it, you like it. Some people can live where I live because it would be too quiet for them. So I'm gonna go outside and make some noise with my mower. And I will see you guys all Wednesday at 11ish. And we'll do something fun, maybe, or horrible. Who knows? But I'll see you guys then. Until then, and enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe, make good choices, because I tell you every day now, I will stream your trial if you have one. So, see you guys later.